Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ripples of Waves, and I'm glad that you are here. I'm actually a couple minutes early on this, just testing out the sound. And if you don't hear me, but you can see me, please let me know. So let's see here. I'm going to just double check something here. Okay, good. Um, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about something that I don't know if you want to say that I was channeling it, some information that came to me. Um, as you know, I'm always asking these questions in my head, always about spiritual things. And so I was laying down. I was actually waiting for a program to start, and it was delayed. It was baseball, which some of you might know. I still follow that, but it was delayed for like 2 hours, I think it was, and, in the meantime, a lot a lot of information, I guess, was coming to me, and it was almost like I started thinking about my life. Now, I've been having a lot of dreams about my childhood, my life, stuff like that, and do I read into a lot of that? It's just a lot of memories are coming back to me at this time in my life, and what am I gonna do with it, right? But to arrive in the world in 1962, as I did, at the arc of JFK's brief, bright presidency, and then remain long enough to watch another administration decades later take up and attempt to complete the threads that were left unfinished. Now, I'm talking about these things in threads and spirituality. So, to me, that seemed to be very rare. Some people might say, "Oh, no, I was born in 1940 and I seen a lot also, but this is what I was reflecting on. It's almost like Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet, if you will, that can see things, and they felt so right. The energy of it felt right. But decades later, you take up an attempt to complete threads that were left unfinished from JFK. That's rare. It's almost a cinematic span of my life history and what I lived. From a spiritual perspective, could feel less like coincidences and more like a long deliberated circuit, a soul choosing to witness beginnings of something and carry the memories of it through intervening years of turbulence and distortion, and then stand by when the original current tries to reassess itself. Now, what am I saying here? Basically, where I'm going with this is that I kind of feel like each one of us, when we decide to come in and incarnate into our soul, we pick the year, we pick the time, we pick the people, we're with our soul group. And why was it so important for me? And I also picked the Akashics to work with in the timeline, right? Why JFK? Was I wanting to hold the energies until the Trump administration? Those are pretty deep things that only I could answer. So many who work with the Akashics or timeline awareness speak of certain generations as bridge souls. Those were born into a particular energetic signature, so you can recognize when the signature returns, even if the outer form has changed. And what I'm saying here is that it's almost like a recognition of this history that is a confirmation. It's a loop, right? We are in this particular loop, or at least a major unfinished chord that has been struck again, right? And so, whether you agree or disagree with, this policy that I'm presenting to you, it's really a lot deeper experience than kind of just throwing a name out there. But you yourself carry the imprint of the earlier moments in your body and your consciousness, as I have for 64 years. Whatever, however your age is, you have been carrying that. And now I get to see and meet the present. That is not ordinary. So the time that I came in, JFK was basically a president for 1 year, okay, and then he was killed in '63, right? So I'm taking this a little bit deeper from my perspective, and maybe some of you have already thought about this. But when you decide to incarnate and you have a soul contract, and that soul bridge are two are related, there it's an idea that appears often in Akashic, shaman, contemporary metaphysical teachings. But we don't think about it a lot. We just kind of think about, oh, our life is this, and I did this is in my life. But if you kind of go a little bit deeper with this, is for some reason that I was doing, which I always do, our soul contracts are generally understood as an agreement made before incarnation. It's in the space between a lifetimes, and it sometimes is called the planning stage. Okay, and then this it's inner life or akashic level, if you want to call it. The soul often uh with guides or other souls get intentions for coming the coming life. All right, these are agreements. There's core life lessons and there's themes that the soul wants to master, a relationship that will catalyze growth, both harmonious and challenging. Okay, the timing of the major events and activation points, it's all it is all set up. There's specific contributions of the soul that intends to make the collective field. Okay, and um, there are contracts that are not rigid fate. That's where I'm kind of going with this. It remains very active. A contract can be completely early. It can be renegotiated or even dissolve when consciousness expands enough to outgrow it. Okay, so if some of you and I'm actually working on a new project here. And if some of you think about what year were you born and what happened at that time, right? And, if you go back into time in history and really think about that. So, from an Akashic perspective, and that's always where I'm going to come from because that is where my soul lies. These contracts are not punishment or assignments handed down from the outside. They're chosen expression of the soul from desires of experience in how I probably have evolved at some particular time. There's what we call a soul bridge. A soul bridge are more specific expressions of the contract idea. These are souls who deliberately incarnate across a major transition in human consciousness or historical cycles. The role to carry the memory, the frequencies, or unfinished business of the era into the next that continues is not lost. So each one of you maybe were born at a certain time to bring those energies, those frequencies, those vibrations, and hold that energy. I've always said that. I have said that on and off. I never quite thought about it, but last night, for whatever is going on in the skies with the planets, something very deep at the most cellular sense, it seems that there's a reason in why I had stretched this out for decades. And then I was, I don't know if I can make a statement that I was firmly awake in 2017. Um, but we all knew about, I mean, it's so strong with everyone with JFK's death. So, if you have ever been feeling slightly out of sync with your own generation while basically simulating and being able to speak to both older and younger groups, there's a reason for that. You're carrying the vibration of knowledge with you. And it's something that you want to hold on to the old frequency while emerging without fully collapsing into either one of them. And it's kinda like everybody that talks about generation after generation, right? This generation is doing that, this generation is doing this, but nobody is honoring what that person from the first generation has brought over into the next generation, and it's so important. It is so important. Bridge souls are not necessarily public figures. I want you to hear this. They're not necessarily public figures. They're not Hollywood people. Many live ordinary outer lives while inwardly spanning out epics, if you will. Their presence in itself is acting like a living link. The ordinary impulses of an earlier time reappears in a new form, and the bridged soul often feels profound. I've been waiting for this. How many of you said that? I have been waiting for this. The soul can write a contract that includes a roll of a bridge. In that case, the life is structured so that a person is born near the beginning of a particular energetic cycle, lives through the distortion or interruptions, and remains present when the original current attempts to return or complete itself. The contract is less about achieving a specific outer results and more about remaining in a coherent carrier of the original frequency long enough for the latter chapter to arrive. What does that mean to me when I kind of look at this? Is like my legacy is the time that I was born, everything that I have lived through, the big events. I could go through each one of those and map them out. Mapping. That's what I'm doing here. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit, probably the next episode or two, about mapping. What was I doing as my career in my life as I was mapping? I was a mapper. I mapped out business rules. I took business rules and I mapped them into a particular program and connected the dots. That's what I did. They called it electronic data interchange. A system could not work without the mapping in between. We cannot work without being able to share our vibration and our frequency to the next generation. This is why some people basically experience certain historical moments as a person is more personal rather than a political or cultural. Maybe you felt that. This is one of these things that you kind of, it's the knowing of the unknowing, and you can't explain it to anybody. The outer events become visible stages is when the inner soul agreement is fulfilled. These concepts are maps, not doctrines. Different traditions use different languages, soul agreements, sacred contracts, life blueprints, or simply the agreement we made. What matters most is whether the map helps a person recognize the deeper um, coherence in their own life. And that's what I think I experienced last night. Would you like to explore any part of this a little bit further with me? And I'd be glad to do that in another show and go deeper with that. But this design is very clear. It's almost like a system, if you will. It's like the Akashic lens that is traditional astrology. It uses birth dates as an entry point and then weaves the personal timing in a collective history through illuminates the soul contract and the bridges roles. All right, so I'm going to come to you guys and just say hello. There's Charlene out there. Charlene. Okay, so Charlene's first thought is she's so analytical. I thought this was only going to be on Rumble. I could not get it to work last night until after I had this epiphany, is what I'll call this. I went back to my computer and I was able to hook it up. And apparently, all of you guys are out here, out on YouTube. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate it, and that's the reason why it is here. For 2 days I couldn't get it to work. This is new software, another new package that I have here. Lisa Davis says, "Aloha, everyone. Hello, hello." So Mary Jones 9191 says, "I have a memory of being with Yeshua and Michael while choosing my parents. I was born in 1954." Well, if you want, just send me an email. Anybody wants to send me an email, I'd be glad to put together and connect the dots and map out just a little something something for you. But you have to write to me. It's ripples 654 at gmail.com. And I'd be glad to kind of run that through for you guys. I could try to do it today, but if I had a studio of people helping me, it'd be a lot easier. I'm also trying to work out how to get the telephone up here so you guys can call in. Um, Lisa Davis says, "Wow, that's amazing and so special that you were allowed to remember that." Yes, that is amazing. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go on a little bit more here. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up. This is something that is we're going to talk about the system, if you will, the mapping, if you will. It's called the Akashic Contract Mapping. I created this, or ACM for short. what makes up this mapping? Well, obviously, it's your birth imprints, right? It's a collective energetic signature. Basically, you're incarnated. What year? Why did you pick the year? And what happens with that? Thank you, Charlene. She put it out there. Thank you so much. And I hope people do write to me. It's up on the top of the screen here. Um, because I'm down at the bottom here. Let's see what else we have. That is correct. Ripple654 at gmail.com. Thank you, Charlene, so much. Again, what makes up the system or the mapping contract is your birth imprint, your contract theme. So the contract themes are the most common soul agreement associated with that imprint. And the only way I can find that out is put it in. I don't think that I need your year, your day and month. If you want to provide that, because when I was looking at this, I said I came in March of 62, and and so anyways, I got a whole bunch of information after that because what actually happened in January and so on and so forth. But anyways, so there's another point here that I want to bring to you. So we have the birth imprint, the contract themes, the resonant points that are later historical moments that tend to reactive or fulfill the original contract. You've got to go back in order, and we got to go back and then go forward in order to see and connect the dots of this mapping that I'm talking about here. And then we have the bridge reading. It basically is synthesizing the interpretation of how the soul may be spanning eras. Okay. And I just find this so fascinating, you guys. And I'm surprised I'm able. I did a prayer, a very, very heavy prayer, and I just asked whomever, please let me come across clear with this information because it was so, it woke me up. That's about all that I can say. And then, okay, so how do we use it? So basically, I enter a birth date and a year, right? I identify your birth imprint, okay? And then the decades. So let's just say early 1960 to 63. What was that all about? So 1960 to 1963 was sudden illumination, idealism, unfinished presidency, visionary currents, space age awakening, and the tension between hope and interruption. You have to really, really get into this. What was happening at the time of your birth, and then what was happening later on. So the expansion. So there was a lot of rebels in the late 1960s. There was an awakening. There was a beginning of a long shadow work was being done. Other decades, there are other signatures that are needed, right? So that's how I read the contracts. Um, let's see here. Let me just kind of go back. Um, okay. Oops. I am so sorry. I've got my notes on here, and my energy just freaks out all computers. So 1960 contracts frequently emphasize bridging rather rapturing. So holding the last stable structure of older, but while quietly preparing the grounds for what is coming. So if somebody out there that I just read, it was Mary Jones said that she remembers, she basically has a memory of Yahweh and Michael in choosing their parents and born in 1954. It's a soul group, right? So she was probably around all her soul groups. There was, it's like a review, right? We talk about when we die, we have a review, but when we're out there, we also are in this soul group and we remember who everyone is at the light perspective. Okay, and what lessons that each one of them bring. Everybody has in the soul group a different vibration, a different frequency, things to learn from, things, and you pick and choose. It's free will, and is what I'm saying here. The soul bridge is the strongest. It's a natural ability to stand in two worlds. How many times have I done reading for you guys with the Akashic records right now and said, you're in two worlds. We're in this world of our spirituality, and then we're in this other reality of what is going on around us. So that's, I take a look at that also. So it's almost like a feeling of having one foot in an old paradigm and one foot already into the new, and I'm sure a lot of you have felt that. And if you could just put your comments in there and let me know, I appreciate it. Let's see. Mary Jones says that her memory. Whoop. Uh oh. Uh-oh, what happened here? Oh, I went to her. Bear with me. I clicked on her name. It's underscored, and it took me to her page. Okay, she said it returned after 2020. I guess I have to go down here and click. There we go. Again, a new software package. All right, so there are frequent experiences ahead of our time still yet. They're deeply connected to the previous generation. And they're still you're not done. You're not done. And how many of you have always said, "Oh, I've said this too. I was struggling with when I retired that I didn't have like a mission, right? And I had to go deep. I had to think. I had to pray. I had to um, really find out who I was. And that, let me tell you, that is one of the hardest things. You think a job is hard? This was one of the hardest things. So, anyways, I talked about the primary bridge phase. There's a second phase. It's called the stabilizer role. And that stabilizer role, where many of them were active in the 60s and 70s. I'm just kind of giving you an overall of what I had come up with within the time that I was born. Okay. And if you were born in the 60s, some of this may even pertain to you. Let's just see what else I have here. All right. So how did I even get here? So yesterday I did a show on numerology. I was doing a numerology because I have a new puppy that's coming in and I wanted to know the numbers, right? I'm thinking of the numbers, and I wanted a unified family that was going to get along really good, and it's all based upon a vibration and frequency of the dog's name. Bella's very, very playful. Rizzo is he is and he's the alpha dog, and he's very grounded. He's a 4, Bella's a 5, kind of woo way out there, right? And this other dog that's coming in. And so let me get I think I talked about this a little bit. So I have to also blend it in with me and my husband, right? It's not just the animals there. So so I have to take a look at Rizzo's a 4, his name, the vibration, the frequency. Bella's a 5, fun, loving. And then the new dog will be coming in. So Rizzo is right on the cusp is an Aquarius, and then Bella's right. She is the cusp. She's could go either way, Aquarius or Pisces. And then the new dog's coming in is going to be a Gemini. I believe it's a Gemini. I have to double check that. And then the name. I cannot figure out a name, so that's right. That's where all this was stemming from, and I'm obsessed. So my husband named Rizzo, and I named Bella, and that came very easy. And so that I started to think. I started kind of going out there, right? I was in the ethers, and all the stuff was kind of coming to me. Um, let's see, all this other stuff was kind of coming to me about me, my birth date. And I thought, is this my ego? Or is this profound that I was born at the time that JFK was president for 1 year? 1963, he was gone. My sister came in 1963. She's gone. Um, but I knew that as soon as I found out about what was going on when I was on X many years ago, and it was that thing that said, "What would you do if you were told that everything that you knew was a lie?" How many of you guys remember that video? That was like cracking me wide open because I've always felt that. In any case, I started to, just kind of take this things very spiritual at a very spiritual level. And I was doing this with my family, right? My husband, I think my husband is a 5, I'm an 8 in the energies, the numerologies of everything. And so I really wanted to see what was going on. And all of a sudden I felt like I was getting more information. It was so profound. I thought, hold on, I need to record this somehow. I honestly, that's what I thought. I was like, I need to record this information. And so that's where I kind of went. I thought, I love the idea of being here, holding the energies, being born. So when you come in and you say, "Well, you're a baby when you came in," right? And you say, "Well, yeah, I'm holding that energy as a baby. I don't have to know what's going on consciously. I'm absorbing all the energies, and so I'm going to be that bridge that remains. It says, I've accepted this bridge function in this lifetime. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Let me know what your thoughts are out there. If let's see, do I have anybody out on Rumble? Anybody out here on Rumble that is watching me? Please, I'm only seeing YouTube at this time, and I'm out on Facebook. So don't be shy. So let me know what your thoughts are on this. I didn't want to go too long into it. Lisa Davis said she was born in 1968. Lisa Davis was born in 1968. If I so what I basically I'm working on something here. Be able to take your uh, if you want, like I said, if you wanted to give me your it's not astrology. Now, I don't want you guys to think I'm doing astrology here. I'm taking the time, that vibration, that frequency, that birth imprint. So, 68 carries one of the most intense collective signatures of the entire decade. There you go, Lisa. It is a year that the 1960s stopped being primarily about idealism and became more ruptured confrontation and irreversible changes. What was so prevalent in 1968? I'm sure Lisa can list these things, but there was assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy, escalations of growing resistance into the Vietnam War, right? There was a lot going on. It was basically students and social uprising. Wow, that's a lot of energy for you, Lisa, to hold on to at the time of your birth to bring in to now. And guess what, Lisa? We're not seeing much difference now, are we? So there's a deep polarization between the old structure and the emerging forces, and they continue to accelerate. So I remember 1968 being in Chicago. There was a lot of the riots in Chicago. I do remember that. I would have been 5, 6 years old hearing about it. Um, so the energetic field was very high voltage transition for Lisa, and a lot of hope and devastation was running side by side. Now, Lisa, you could you could take this. She's like, oh shit. You could take this. So souls entering in 1968 often carry a strong imprint of intensity, urgencies, and the need to stay awake inside chaos. Lisa, when I finally get this hooked up where you could call in, I hope you're one of them that calls in and lets me know. But right now, could you just kind of put something out there? There are a lot of common contract themes out there. Souls were born to imprint frequencies, accept the program, you're holding clarity, you can hold integrity, while the collective system is fractured. And that's what I'm getting. Bridging the gap between the 1960 idealism and the harder realities that follow. You guys, when we sit there and we talk about our problems, we just still don't know how powerful we are and what we came here to do. And I believe this is my truth, and I'm so overwhelmed with this information. So carrying a long-term capacity to of intensity can eventually be transformed rather than simply repeated. So, we sit there and we talk about, oh yeah, there's politics behind all this stuff, and there's government and all this other stuff, but there's something much, much bigger, and it's called us, we the people, that is much, much bigger than all of this. If you really dig down deep into your souls, and understand the bridging and your role that you have here. So I think that's all that I have for you guys today. I hope that let's see here. Mary Jones says, "I remember 1968 well." Let me click on the line so I don't go to her page. I remember 1968 well. In the MLK assassination, my teenage group had a gun pulled on us for sitting in the middle of the street. Um, that's why I come back and I talk about generation after generation after generation. So you take the boomers generation out of the picture, right? Take it out of the picture. And I think that's like another level that I have to go because I understand the boomers, but I don't understand the other generations and what they have actually. So 1968 would have been out of the boomers era, and what energies that were they called to hold on to? And if I'm not mistaken, Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but everybody talks. I think it's Gen X. Is it a Z? I don't remember, but everybody says that they're the most unhappy generation ever. What contracts did they come in and what did they imprint? All right. Any other questions or anything else? I just wanted to share that with you. I hope it wasn't depressing. I hope it was uplifting. Um, Please let me know. Put your comments in. Appreciate it. Yes, Gen X. I always forget that and I don't know why. And I think that's why the division is there between the Gen X and the boomers, and everybody will say, "Oh, the boomers did all this, and the Gen X have to clean it all up," or whatever. They were just called in to do something completely different that the that my contract didn't agree to do, but I would hold the energy for them, right? We're holding the energy, and we're bringing it to that's our legacies, and when the next generation after Gen X will do the exact same thing. I don't like to see any of this division among us about anything. Um, and and you really have to look at it, exploring your soul contract at this way that I hope this makes sense and how I'm explaining it to you. So when I'm actually, and I'm going to do this right now for, I always talk to you guys. Excuse me, 1 minute. Um, I always talk to you guys about my Akashic cards. And the reason why I use these cards is because I can go so deep in the Akashics. And it's too deep. It's too deep for what I'm doing here unless you want a huge healing. Like you're really, really stuck in my healings that I used to charge people were I can't even remember how much money that they were. But it wore me out. It wore me out real quickly. But these Akashic cards give me enough insight to give me a little bit of your light so I can reflect it back to you. And I think that actually I hit something with Joey G the other on Saturday with him. I was hoping I wasn't going too far, but then I stopped myself and why do we even need to know about this stuff? Why can I pull out one thread of something that you may be struggling with, is because you're asking for help, right? And you know that you don't want to be stuck. You don't want to be stuck in that particular um, place, right? It would be Charlene. Let me kind of do this. That's what the Akashic Records is all about. Like I said, I studied the Akashic Records. I went to 3 levels. I think there's somewhere maybe five going on 6 levels. Whoever is channeling this information. But I stopped there because that's where my teachers had actually stopped. And Charlene is basically making a statement it would be incredibly useful to know your soul contract. It is useful, but the whole idea of going through and learning this stuff to learn about yourself is for you to do it instead of me to actually tell you. And I know that Charlene actually wrote to me. She picked up the book. I had asked her, "Hey, Charlene, how did that book by Linda Howe go?" And it's called The Akashics and How to Read the Akashics and stuff like that. And let me just tell you, you do have to be very, very awake. Very, your frequencies have to be. You can't be drinking alcohol. You can't be on any medications per se, and that or mind altering kind of stuff, mushrooms or anything like that. Because you have to be a clear channel. You really do, and in order to get the information that you need. So Pashik One is for you to learn about yourself, get all the information, constantly work on it. I still do it. I'm still in level one. How else did I get this information brought to me? But it probably has always been out there, but I was able to pull it all together and understand it. And when I started hearing the word mapping, and map this, I'm thinking I did this for a living. I should know how to bridge these things together, and it was just so profound. It was very profound. It's the only word that I can keep using over and over again. And how if I didn't map anything, if I didn't bridge it together in the workplace, the program wouldn't work. I'm not saying that we are programs. What I am saying is that we're much more powerful. It's our souls. Programs are for machines and robots, and we have something much, much more powerful than that. Let's see here. Another statement was Mary, the whole love and peace movement of the 60s was infiltrated with energies from the dark side. But it was still there, right? You got to go back. Where do you got to go back? The 50s. I think it was infiltrated later on. There's a particular year that was infiltrated. I don't know if you can just say the whole 60s. Yeah, let's see here if I can even find something like that. Um, I think I think in 62, after all those assassinations, that's probably like right 67, 68. I think that's when things really started to change, if you will. Let's see here. Oh, one other thing I want to mention. Oh shit, I hate when that happens. Question you guys aren't asking me, but I'm going to throw it out there. Can your soul hold multiple bridges in one lifetime? I'm I'm not going to give you the answer, but I want to see what you say. Can your soul hold multiple bridges in one lifetime? All right, I want to see what you guys where you're going with that. I wish this program made shorts like the last one do, because this would be really cool to do. Let's see here. Um, Anybody? There's a little bit of delay. Can your soul hold multiple bridges in one lifetime? I'm just waiting for anyone to answer this. And we got Dragon Wings that says it sure can. Ding, 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 ding. She's the winner. She's the winner. Where's my little bell? Yes, a single incarnation contains several bridges. You think that we're simple? We're not simple at whatsoever. Lisa Davis says, I believe so. Some are collective and spans decades. Other are personal and marks the major identity of deaths and rebirths within one life. Some others are quieter frequencies that bridge and activate at a different stage. These bridges usually unfold in waves, rather all at once, ripples of waves. What begins as one primary bridge can open up into related ones as consciousness expands. So when people sit there and tell you, get a line, do this, do that, I say just relax. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't. I went swimming. It was so freaking hot. I think today, I think the temperature is going to hit 100, and that's without the heat index. I know that this whole country is in the whole world is basically warmed up, and I just want to tell everyone, please be very careful out there. So I waited till about 6 o'clock last night, my time, to jump in the pool, and it was warm, and I just said, "I need some exercise, I need to move my body, I can't be in the air conditioning." And so I'm just out there for a good half hour, 45 minutes, just, stretching, pushing against the water, trying to get the blood flowing. Then I went in. I was so excited. I get to watch my cubbies, and they were delayed for 2 hours. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is." So what happened was I had moved the energies. My energies were already like I was in salt water. My pool is salt water. So I think it was a good formula for me to be able to like get a lot of this information. So, all right, so let's just talk a little bit about your soul is not the program. I said that already. The soul is a living awareness that writes, it runs, it observes, and it can revise the program. Soul contracts and bridges roles are the program and the source of one who agrees to them, who remains larger than them. Okay. This is a powerful teaching. Um, and You are not sentenced to a bridge role forever. It's important to know that. Let's see here. What else is there? How and basically, um, oops, I did it again. All right, so I'm kind of right back to where I wanted to go with you. I'm just going to reiterate a simple mapping method, your birth imprint, the contract themes, the resonant points, and the bridging, the reading of the bridge of the reading. If you want to send me an email, see what I can pull up on you guys. And this is special for this chat here only. I know who's in this chat. I see you guys all the time. I would love to pass this information on. But once I give it to you, please, when you open it in the email, it'll be from Ripples 654, 456. What did I say? Ripples, somebody out there, help me out. Ripples654 at gmail.com. Sit with it, sit with the information, ask for guidance, and see where you go with it. Because I'm going to honor you by doing this, and that's exactly what I'm doing. This is the heart of what I love. I love to explore. I love this stuff, and I absorb it so much. Um, and I hope you enjoyed this. I really do. All right. That's all that I have. I'm into this into 40 minutes. Wow. I didn't even think it was going to go 20. Um, let's see. Dragon Wings has her granddaughter. What a blessing to have your granddaughter. I thought about that too. My husband thought I've never talked about it. I never had children. So I'm at that point in my life. I see my friends with their grandchildren, and it's such a distance for me, right? It's like something that I know that I'll never achieve. But lately, it was just like, gosh, what can I do to help other little kids and stuff like that? Because I'll never have my own kids. I was hoping that, my niece, who I was close to, but not as much anymore, was going to have children. And then she got ill and she can't have children. But yeah, so it's just, my father was all about family. And he taught me that on a level that I didn't even know what he was teaching me. And it is just so interesting the things that we observe and we absorb and things we don't absorb. If you guys remember back in the day, I used to say that all the time when there was so much crap going on. I had t-shirts made up, observe but don't absorb. And so I'm at the point in my life I want to absorb my information, my akashics. I want to understand the legacy. Um, and I am a legacy of my own. I'm not, bragging or anything like that here. I'm just saying that we were all brought in and we chose this a time of birth, the year, the month, the day. And as Mary Jones said, she remembers picking her parents. Okay. AO is out there. AO. So next time, what I'd like to do, and I'm going to try to do this tomorrow at noon. Also, it looks like you guys, a lot more people are in here. Is I'm going to try to pick up the cards of the Akashic. And I noticed something when what I did with Joey is I didn't hold back, and I also knew that I could feel his energy because he was my co-host. I could feel that I should only go so far with it, and not even realizing that his daughter was out in the chat also. But it was something he needed to hear. And so when I do my little prayer, when I go into the Akashics, I'm going to ask, what is it that they need to hear? I hope you join me tomorrow at noon. I'm going to try to get this out to noon. Now that I am only, I can go to Facebook. I can go to all of them that now that I got this working. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mary, AO, Charlene, Dragon Wings. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. And Lisa Davis. Thank you guys for being here. Watch us again. Let me know your thoughts or email me. Take care now. Bye bye.